Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're all having a great December so far. I hope and pray you're staying safe. So, I've had a lot of fun doing this Real Holiday series. I did a couple movies last year, but I really was like, I'm going to try to do 25. I'm going to try to do one a day, essentially. And, there's been a couple hiccups there, but yeah, I mean, I've been keeping the reviews coming, and I'm really having fun with this. I unfortunately did not have fun with the movie I'm about to talk about, which is Kirk Cameron's I can't think of the name of the title, Saving Christmas. And okay, so this movie is written, directed, and stars Darren Doan. I'm saying Doan. So it stars him and Kirk Cameron, of course, because of course it does. And I'm going to be very honest with you, with everyone, with all of you. I cannot remember the last time, the King of Staten Island. Yes, there's been stuff this year. It's been, that's pissed me off. King of Staten Island immediately comes to mind. This year's been so weird. I'd have to think about what else, but King of Staten Island's one of them. Tyler Perry's A Fall from Grace. That shit irritated me. The thing about this movie, I think, that upsets me so much is that, first off, this is a $500,000 budget. This has a $500,000 budget. I don't know where the fuck the money went, because my God, this is one of the cheapest. There are films on Lifetime, I guarantee you. Actually, you know what? No, that's too hard. There's YouTube movies that have better budgets. And there are YouTube films that have less budgets. Like, films that creators are making, that they are turning out some amazing stuff. And this shit is trifling. That is the best way I can go ahead and describe it. So let's get into this plot. So Kirk Cameron stars as himself, I guess. Essentially, he plays Kirk, whatever. But he's throwing an annual Christmas party, which he is hosting. Christian is played again by the writer-director Darren Dawn, whatever. He is very cynical about Christmas. He is just like, I hate Christmas. I hate the commercialism. I hate it. Bah humbug, right? And the thing about this movie that is so unbelievable is at the end of the day, it is preaching the prosperity gospel. It's just using Christmas as a giant smokescreen to go ahead and justify getting rich basically by any means and being materialistic. But I'll get there. So this film, let me just be clear. This is a big holiday party. There's at this nice house. There's a bunch of food. They have people over, and it's the whole kit and caboodle. So the movie starts off with Kirk Cameron talking about, I love everything about Christmas time. I love the cookies. I love the fire. I love the hot chocolate. He has a thing about hot chocolate, which, I'll be honest, kind of made me, I actually switched from hot chocolate to beer just because he was upsetting me. Just knowing that he loves hot chocolate so much. That's how bad I hate this movie, is that he ruined hot chocolate for me, at least for the night. So, but he talks about this section of the country, and here is where it is a prosperity gospel. That section of the population that believes in that shit. That's not actual Christianity, which, by the way, just real quick, if you're one of those people who thinks Treflon Dollar or Kenneth Copeland or Joel Osteen, if you think those guys are like men of God, you need to pick up your Bible. Like, seriously, please pick up your Bible, because you are putting faith in the wrong motherfuckers. And Kirk Cameron, considering what he's just been talking about, how he's breaking stay-at-home orders in California right now, more specifically the LA area, and that he's talking about, like, oh, I'm providing people with hope by hosting these, these prayer singing sessions with 500 people, not masked up, by the way. Kirk Cameron thinks he's doing God's work. And I'm going to tell you right now, fuck you, Kirk Cameron. I think you're a piece of shit. And if there's one good thing that did come out of this movie, it's the fact that I know that I've always felt about Kirk Cameron is justified. Because I always thought Family Ties was way better than Growing Pains. I didn't think it was even a contest. First, Michael J. Fox's hair was magical in that show. Secondly, Michael J. Fox is funnier than Kirk Cameron, and clearly a better actor, because when I tell you that this acting, I remember I played a card in my school, like I was 10, so like my 5th grade play of Alice in Wonderland. I guarantee you my acting as that fucking card was better than any of the shit in this movie, because this movie, when they show people trying to play Mary or play Joseph or play Santa Claus, yes, Santa comes up in this fucking shit. It is just, it's not laughable, like ha 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 funny. It's laughable like, you people are in front of a camera. You're getting paid to do this. I'm assuming not a lot, but you are getting paid. And it bothers me that these people probably got a decent amount of money, I would think. I mean, they probably got $100 at least, maybe in like a Porter Subs gift card or something like that. But the fact that these people, that this was a paid job, makes me want to shake every fucking person, that staff. It's unbelievable. But Kirk Cameron's talking about this section of the population, who's against Christianity and the whole war on Christmas, that bullshit. That's essentially how he starts off the movie. But he talks about the fact that, he says that there's some people who would love to put you in a big red blanket. They don't want us to celebrate the way we do. If you want to sing your stuff and do your thing, don't sing too loud. Just take your private stuff and keep it tucked in private. And here's the thing. Who are these people where he's talking about? They start selling Christmas shit in October before Halloween even fucking happens. But he's acting like there's a war on Christmas, and a lot of this review is going to be ranting. I acknowledge that at the beginning, but the thing that's kind of just maddening about this from jump is that the section he's talking about is so small. What he's talking about is the people who are saying, oh, you have to say happy holidays, not Merry Christmas. That's what he's pissed off about. He's upset that there's not a nativity scene in every yard. That's what he means by the whole, keep it tucked away in private. And no, I have been a Christian for as long as I can remember. I don't have people, anytime I put up anything Christ-like in my home, my apartment, whatever, I've never had someone go like, ugh, or, oh, you're being offensive. But this dude he won't let this shit go. And the fact that he made a whole film about this shit is just really baffling. But anyway, sorry, back to plot. His brother-in-law is being a real wet blanket. And so he throws out some questions like, what about, he's talking about the fact that, God is being taken out of this, out of the holiday, and that he just can't understand how people can be so materialistic. So here's the problem. That right there is an interesting and an actual valid point. How people who are taught, because if you read your Bible, it talks about not having, your possessions that you take pride in be here on earth. It talks about being giving and helping your neighbor, loving your neighbor, giving your fellow man. And so when Christian brings that up, of course his name's Christian. His name's Christian White, by the way. So when Christian White, his brother-in-law, brings this up, I went, oh, that is a surprisingly good point for this movie. I wonder if they're going to go somewhere with that. And you know what? Silly me, I gave the movie way too much credit from jump. That's on me. I should have known better because it's a fucking Kirk Cameron movie. But of course they just go, nope, we're not going to address that. We're just going to go ahead and show how Christian is wrong. And that right there from jump is where this movie immediately lost me, because Christian's not wrong. I'm sorry, we talk about the church, and I'm going to say this, and I know some people will be very unhappy, but it's true. How many times, and look, I'm speaking to someone who went to church for 20 years, 25 years. I don't go anymore, but I went to church for a while. I was actually trained to be a pastor, fun fact, but I digress. How many times has your church gone ahead and helped out a soup kitchen, give them food to the homeless, whatever? How many times has that been done without God being attached? Honestly, how many times have you just given food or something like that and not had a speech tied to it? Because let's be real. Yes, it does happen. But more often, and I'll say this for myself, more often than not, when I see it in church, it's usually like, oh, can I pray for you? Or can I talk to you a little bit about God? It's like, no, it's never just about the act. It's about that little carrot that's dangled at the end. And the fact is, as Christians, we should be more giving. I will say just a quick thing myself. There are a couple charity organizations that I donate to each month, because I'm not going to church. I have been very blessed, so I do what I can. I think if everyone would do that, we would, the world would be in much better shape. But it's frustrating because it's such a no duh conversation. I would think, wouldn't you want to bring this up and make this a bigger deal? No, we're not gonna. Okay. So while I'm getting to the plot here, I will say they have a couple people in color in here. Dayron, something like that. Sorry, DeAndre, I was way off. Who's played by David Shannon. And I don't know who David Shannon is, but fuck you, David Shannon, you're fucking terrible. Oh, this is his one acting credit, and I'd like to point out that Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas came out in 2014. Oh, he was a producer, and he helped with the production audio. Well, good fucking job. This movie, he is the only real, I don't even want to say prominent, because he only has a couple lines, but he is one of the people of color in this movie. And he is as coonish and stereotypical as you could possibly be. He flat out goes at a point when he's talking to Christian, like, oh, Christian, what's happening, buddy? Just, it sounds like when Undercover Brother is doing the white people impression when he gets brainwashed. That's what he's doing here. It's fucking annoying. And again, as a person of color, as I'm watching this, I'm just going, wow, you have one person of color who is basically allowed to speak, and this is how you portray him. Kirk Cameron couldn't even get that shit right. It's so maddening. But just going through other stuff in the movie here, there is this amateur hour film school shit that Dawn, I don't care, that Christian is doing. It's that in and out of focus with a blur where it's supposed to look real art house. He can't even do that shit right. He's bad at everything. He sucks. He is the Eugene of Hey Arnold of this movie. Like, he's just bad at everything. This movie feels like someone who's never held a camera before. As far as it's directed, it's never directed with any flair, any gums, nothing. When he's talking to DeAndre, again, the conversation they have, I'm gonna even just read the dialogue line for line here. So Christian even he goes, "My man Christian, how you doing? What up, DeAndre? How you been? You know me, blessed and highly favored. Flavored. They wouldn't make that joke in this movie, but." He's talking about, like, oh, making evidence of speaking tongues, and he's like, ha, and he goes to high five him, and I'm just sitting here watching this going, oh my god, how long is this movie? And I'd like to point out, I wanted this to stop 13 minutes in. He keeps trying to high five Christian, by the way, and it's just really, it's really uncomfortable, and it comes across just really lame and uncomfortable. So Christian, the way this whole movie is justified, and I put justified in huge fucking quotes. Christian goes ahead and steps out of the house, out of the party, and he goes into his driveway, and he gets into his car, and he just sits there just, and can I say, by the way, Kirk just kind of walks into the car, like he's sitting there, he doesn't know if he's, having an important call or if he's crying, like whatever, but Christian just walks his happy, or Kirk just walks his happy ass in his car, like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, were you needing some time? Like, it's absolutely maddening. So Christian lays out these things, talking about how Jesus wasn't born in April. Like this was something that was done to basically, piss off pagans. Like why, we put Jesus in the corner, put baby in the corner, but he's just kind of going off about being just angry. And again, the film immediately just goes, he brought up these good points. Fuck that. Kirk is right. Christian's wrong. And that immediately is where the film immediately just really crumbles really out the gate, because the film isn't about educating you. It's about preaching to you. And there is a difference. It's about preaching and justifying its bullshit stances that it has. So I don't even know where to start with this. So let's start with the nativity. Let's start there. The nativity would probably be the one that was the one I probably just went, oh my fucking God. So Kirk tells Christian, close your eyes, visualize, a baby is born. Like, I want you to visualize this. Here's what's crazy. And I'm going to go down this list because I have several notes here about stuff that just made me go, what the actual. So Kirk claims that Joseph and Mary were hiding from soldiers sent by Herod to kill all babies being born, including the baby Jesus. The Gospel of Matthew flat out says the soldiers were sent by Herod after Jesus was born, which I remember I read the nativity scene. So quick segue. That was a family tradition we had when I was a kid living at home, is that I would read a nativity story every Christmas before we would open presents. We would wake up, we'd kind of, shake ourselves awake, and then we'd sit down and I'd read the nativity story. That was something I did every year. So when they brought this up, I went, bullshit, what? So, but the soldiers were sent by Herod after Jesus was born, when Herod was tipped off by the visiting wise men that, a king of the Jews had been born. So him saying that, I was like, that's not correct. Cameron even insists, and this was the one I just went, what the fuck is wrong with you? And this is how it starts. Cameron even brings up the fact that the nativity took place in a cave, which they show a snow globe of the fucking nativity scene. I went, that's not a cave, motherfucker. Like, that's in a farm. You did, like, that alone, I'm like, you are just a lazy bastard, aren't you? But he says that the nativity scene takes place in a cave because the manger was full of stone, which, first off, no, you don't make a manger out of fucking stone, you moron. So there is no source. And I was Googling. So I will tell you right now, I probably spent more time researching this movie than they took writing it. God, you assholes. But there's nowhere. I Googled that. Everything brought me back to Saving Christmas, because there's no fucking record of it. Nothing. And that alone, I went, why are you lying about that? You don't need to. There's no reason to lie about that. And yet he does. So there's no source on that. There's no source that the nativity scene took place in a cave. Matthew even says that it was in Joseph's house in Bethlehem. Luke, the Gospel of Luke says it was a stable. So 50-50, one of the two most likely. So it really just comes across like this really just dipshit attempt to link the nativity scene with the resurrection, which I'm like, if that's your logic, there doesn't need to be an Old and New Testament then. Like, so just on a biblical 101 no fucking duh scale, I went, this doesn't make sense that you're trying to do this. Another thing he brings up the fact that that frankincense and myrrh were funeral spices. So myrrh has been used with was used in mummification. Frankincense was not, and both were mostly used more as a sacred incense. So again, full shit. He talks about, there's a point, I know I'm jumping all over the place because this movie jumped all over the place. Also, by the way, when Kirk just lays out his claims, like tells you stories, Christian never questions it. He just goes, oh, I didn't know that. Never even thinks about checking in. This was made in 2014. Cell phones were a fucking thing. You never see him maybe looking up some of the shit on his phone while Kirk is talking to him about it. I know he told him to close his eyes, but at some point you would open them. So I'm sitting there thinking, why? Like, there are these simple little tweaks you could make, and I'm not saying this would by any shape or form make this film fucking good, because I don't think Spielberg can make this shit fucking good, but it would at least be an attempt, but they couldn't even do that. It just, so they talk about Saint Nick, and they're talking about how he that he was a bishop, and that he went ahead and like spoke up for Jesus in the Holy Trinity. And I'm sitting there going, there's no fucking way this is true. I know this isn't true. So first off, there's very little known about Saint Nicholas, and some Christian leaders have even flat out said that he may never have existed, but Cameron puts this down like it's actual fucking fact. So the only thing that we know is someone named Nicholas at some point was the Bishop of Myra, which is now modern day Turkey, by the way. But everything else is really unsure, and it's really fucking folklore at this point. But again, Kirk Cameron presents this shit as fact. Kirk also says that Nicholas was sainted, when in reality he was never canonized. He was actually, his sainthood was more by word of mouth. It was never official. That's another fucking thing. Kirk makes this whole elaborate rationalization on Christmas trees, and this is where I think my brain, like, I don't know if you guys have ever gone through something like this, but if you almost remember something that you don't like or something traumatic, how your brain, you realize, oh, I remember this happening, but my brain just went, I'm going to just form a cocoon around your head, and we're just not going to think about this right now. So this movie, this is where I just went, I would choke Kirk Cameron if I ever met him. Like, if I have my phone in my hand and I'm walking down, California or whatever, I see Kirk Cameron, I would throw my phone at him. It would be well worth losing a phone just to chuck it at him, because the connection he tries to make right here, he tries to make this insanely elaborate rationalization for Christmas trees relating to the crucifixion in the Garden of Eden, which I was like, what the actual So there's a point where Kirk Cameron goes, well, Adam ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but how do you put something back that you steal? What do you do when you steal something? You put it back, but Adam couldn't put it back. So God went ahead and sacrificed himself as a literal ornament, as a literal fruit for our souls. I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's such a convoluted attempt to connect the two, but that's the problem with this movie. It wants to connect every motherfucking thing, and the problem is you cannot connect every motherfucking thing. But this movie has the nerve, the unmitigated gall, the blasphemy to go ahead and try to connect all this shit. It doesn't. So the other part about that is that, and I could not find the verse. I will be honest. I looked, I couldn't find it. There's a part in Jeremiah, though, that there's a verse in there that actually some people feel is a commandment against Christmas trees. So it doesn't make any sense that he would do that. It's just a really odd thing to lie about. And I found myself just sitting here going, you're lying so much about this. This could have been a 20-minute video on Focus on the Family's website. That's really what this should be, because this is about 75 minutes, and honestly, it feels 79 minutes. Pardon me. And honest to God, this could have been 30. It doesn't need to be longer than 30, but they are padding this out as much as humanly possible. I will say too, the poster is the douchiest poster. It's do you remember the I don't know if they're still around, but if Four Loko was if there's a Christian, if you could make Four Loko non-alcoholic, because that's, I'm assuming, how Kirk Cameron would drink it, it's like a Christian Four Loko. It is just the most extreme, over the top, unnecessary fucking poster. You've got Kirk Cameron holding the fucking snow globe of the nativity scene. In the other hand, he's got a candy cane, and he has this really smug, oh my god, I'm wearing Vans, douche look on his face. And it's just the most infuriating poster. Once I start paintballing again, I might print this poster out and just shoot it. Like, it is a fucking terrible poster. And sorry, there is so much here that, like, not as far as good, obviously, but there is so much here that my brain was just going, oh my god, overload, overload, overload. It's a shame this came out in 2014, because if this came out this year, this would be my number one worst of film by far, because this shit is ridiculous. So there's a point where Kirk argues that you should take the toy soldiers, the nutcrackers, like those, and use them to represent Herod's soldiers. To put those nutcrackers, those toy soldiers, put them by the snow globe of the nativity scene to go ahead and make the scene more accurate. And I'm just sitting here going, what is wrong with you? There's so many points where I'm sitting here going, you don't need to say any of this. Why are you making this so much harder on yourselves? And I have to tell you right now, the amount of zoom in on this, it's like the first time I use Snapchat. The amount of times that is zoomed in on someone's face for no reason, and it does this weird static effect, kind of like it's supposed to be like Cloverfield, Christfield. Like it's trying to do that, but then there are these other points where it's trying to be like a Snyder film. There's so much slow-mo in this, and I have to be honest, I thought there was a lot of slow-mo in Watchmen. For its runtime, it might be even as far as in proportion, because my god, the amount of slow-mo in this movie is so goddamn ridiculous. It makes the movie at least 15 minutes. I'd say at least 10 minutes longer. It's absurd how long this movie is. And even when there's something that could have been interesting, and I don't mean it like interesting like, oh, this could be true. I mean interesting as in, oh my god, I'm grasping for straws, give me fucking something. The guy who's playing Saint Nicholas ends up getting to a fight with this guy who was apparently trying to banish, to go ahead and discredit God. And of course, again, this shit, Santa Claus didn't fucking happen, but Nicholas goes ahead and fights Arius, and they show this fight scene, but the problem is every time they show part of the fight scene, it cuts off or it like blacks out. It's like the camera's blinking. It's really fucking weird, but you can't see anything. It's like the first fight scene. It's like the first 3-minute fight scene in Aquaman, and actually you saw way more in that shit. And just when I just kept thinking this movie couldn't get worse, I have to give the movie credit. It continuously got worse. It was like the worst it was like the worst elevator ride ever. Like, like the elevator might shake a little bit. It was like if this shook the whole fucking time, and then at the end it just started to drop. Because when this movie drops, and I will get to the end here in a bit, but my god, when it drops, it fucking drops. And I'm just trying to think what else I want to bring up before I get to the end. So here's another part. For as much as Kirk Cameron talks about, it's about Christmas and loving each other and da-da-da-da, there is no point they address helping the poor. None. Absolutely none. It's addressed at the beginning of the movie as far as him going, help your neighbor. That's it. No point is ever made about actually giving money to the poor, actually, volunteering, anything in that vein. Never brought up at all. And it's one of those things that where I just sit back and go, wow, you do not get this. as someone who claims to be a Christian, you're apparently really fucking bad at it, because that is a 101. Like, it just blows my mind. And I think that's the part in particular that I just went, my God, this is a thing that exists. Kirk Cameron kept finding ways in this movie to go, you fucking suck. Like, you're fucking terrible. There's this point where Christian opens the door and jumps and like dives in and slides on the floor, because why wouldn't he? And there's this point where it zooms out, or it pans out, and he goes, and Kirk goes, look at the presents under the tree. It's a perfectly acceptable. They're perfectly acceptable as a reminiscent of the skyline of what New Jerusalem would look like. Which I'm like, no, that's not how this works. First off, is every single person in the world going to have that amount of presence to form a New Jerusalem skyline? Which, again, is fucking absurd to even make that connection. Two, by that logic, it could be the skyline of Babylon or Rome. And you know what Rome and Babylon both really loved? Slavery. There's no reason to make that analogy. And it's so absurd. It is. So here's the last thing I'll say before I get to the thing that just broke my brain. Okay. Kirk gives the impression of someone, for me, who read part of the Bible like 15 years ago. That's what it feels like. But it really feels like he's got this the wrong way. And what I mean by that is, instead of making his life fit more of what the Bible tells you, he's fitting the Bible more and fit his life. And straight up, he's just making all these justifications for his selfishness and the concept of being selfish over and over again without double checking, because he's just being an asshole. And if there's something that the Bible contradicts what he's saying, he just goes ahead and admits it. And the other thing is, too, this comes across so condescending. It feels like he, as much as people give Tarantino shit for feeling like you're always going to film school, this is bigger than Tarantino's ego. Yeah, this film, the way it is filmed, and the way that Kirk clearly feels like he's a better Christian than whoever the audience is, it's absurd how he goes ahead and just has this holier than thou complex. It's really kind of incredible. Like, he really is the villain in this shit. So just when I thought the movie couldn't get worse, of course Christian goes in, walks to his wife, and is like, I've been a real jerk this year, like I love you, and goes, like, oh, it's Christmas and it's about making things right. And so Christian goes, you deserve so much better, and like, he's being all sweet, and he's like, oh, I've been wanting to give you something for a long time. And so I remember sitting here watching going, what the fuck? And then his wife drops the following line. She goes, what do you have in mind, Big Papa? And I remember going, oh my God, I want to be Paramore because I need brand new eyes after watching this fucking movie. This shit sucks. So, pardon me. So, once she drops that horrendous line, what does Christian say? He says, he goes ahead and goes, oh, I formed a hip-hop dance group. Yes, that is right. He formed a hip-hop fucking dance group, and then him and his friends just start dancing in front of the Christmas tree while the camera goes, yeah, look at him go, look at him go. This, I'm going to be honest, as a person of color, I was offended by this shit. It is straight up, because the black guy's right there front and center, getting everybody hyphy. And I'm just sitting there going, I hate every single fucking person. If there's any time for Jason Voorhees to show up, it should have been here. You know what? That's the only way this movie would have gotten even a passing grade. And because I had to sit through all this shit, I would have given it a C+. If Jason just walked in, or Michael Myers, you know what, Michael Myers, he'd be more vicious. Yeah, if Michael Myers just walked in and started stabbing them all, I'd be like, this is fucking incredible. C+. But sadly, no, I didn't get that. But the dance number, it is so, I'm telling you, there are people on YouTube who are way better dancers. I remember trying out Darren's dance grooves. I think I was better than about 85% of the people here. But of course, they have the guy who can break dance a little bit. Like, oh, we're so official because we have someone who's rejected from Step Up. Like, it's so cool, right? It's this shit. This shit is fucking terrible. It really is. And at the end of the day, the part I think that makes me even more upset is, and I haven't reviewed it yet for the channel, I will, but when you think about Charlie Brown Christmas, and how you think about how Charlie Brown was feeling like Christian feels in this movie, the fact that Charlie Brown learns the correct message of, hey, it doesn't matter what possessions you have, as long as you're with people you love, that's what matters. This movie does not say that. This movie at the end flat out goes, I want you to break out your finest china, your finest butter, your finest food. It flat out is celebrating. It's flat out celebrating materialism and commercialism. Kirk has the nerve to drop this line. He goes, this is a celebration of an eternal God taking material body. Therefore, it's okay to value possessions on such a high level, which is the dumbest fucking logic. So so here's another thing. The movie really points to the fact that, materials are that everything. So basically the film talks about how everything is the will of God. So, if you have material things, that's a good thing. Here's the problem with that. So, if everything's the will of God, and nothing is in defiance of God, then everything is good. So if everything is you walk out and get hit by a car tomorrow, that's good by that logic. The fact that the film goes, because Jesus is material, it's okay to be materialistic. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. That is such a straw. That's not even a straw hat argument. That's like a straw headband argument. It's so ridiculous. Not the case here at all. And if you think about that with Charlie Brown, he would have been telling his sister to go ahead and ask Santa for more things then, by this movie's logic. And that alone just made me go, wow, fuck you in every way humanly possible. Okay, I have nothing else to say. In case you didn't know, I hated this. Seeing these people dance just with this attempted hip hop Christmas shit, just I hate it so much. And seeing Kirk Cameron do the worm was something I was like, man, if there's ever a worm to step on, it would be one right now. But this shit is this is maddening. This was a genuinely maddening experience to me. This is not unplanned, thank God, but this is not far behind. This is a terrible movie. And I wouldn't even tell people to watch this as a joke. I would tell people it's on Amazon Prime Video. It's at a 1.4 out of 10 out of almost 15,000 reviews on IMDb, just put in perspective. I'll tell you right now, if I ever meet Kirk Cameron, I'm going to tell him he fucking sucks to his face, because this was one of the worst experiences of a film I've had in my life. And I'm not even joking. I had to spread this out over 3 hours, basically. I was so fucking angry watching this the whole time. And just the glee and the pride that they have about this. Like, yeah, we're making something for the real Christians. Yeah, no, you're making something for selfish fucking assholes. And that's what every single person who is associated with this is, except for the kids. They probably didn't know better. They probably thought they were going to go to Disneyland or some shit. And then they got tricked into this fucking shit. And they have the black guy do the splits. Like, yeah, I'm so hood. I'm so cool. Fuck you. Yeah, this is a go fuck yourself to the highest degree. Yeah. Yep, I'm done. Fuck Kirk Cameron. I'm done. Don't watch this. If you're morbidly curious, I would say turn off after 10 minutes. It's on Amazon Prime Video. You can watch it there for free. Thank God. Okay, I am done. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at jhunterrealpineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearman1st. Don't forget to like our pages on Facebook. You can like us at the Real Pineapple, pardon me. And you can like our gaming page at Real Pineapple Games. I'm going to be streaming here soon. Haven't decided what I'm going to stream, but I am going to stream. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and rate us. You can find us on SoundCloud, Apple and Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher and iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, and TuneUp at The Real Pineapple. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Please stay safe, take care of each other, wear a mask so we can all go back outside. We'll have reviews come up soon for the Real Holiday series for Elf, which I am so excited to watch that. I'm so excited to watch Elf. As well as Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Batman Returns, and Klaus. I'm going to review Klaus too. I'm really excited to watch that as well. But thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.